Hey all, I know it's been a while since I put out a video, so I figure, why not get around to it today? So, working on a new pedal design here, which is not really new. It is, but it isn't, and I'll explain why. And I'm going to say something that's probably going to aggravate a lot of people out there, especially pedal builders. Now, this is not across the board, but for the most part, the vast majority of pedals that you see today are modifications of previously made pedals. Um, that's not a bad thing, and that's not, a dig at anybody. Uh, but what you see here is a combination of three or four different pedals um, that, this is how they start. And a lot of pedals, especially when we're talking about fuzz or boost, all go back to an original RCA circuit for basically an amplifier type of circuit. That's where the LPB1, the Electro Harmonics LPB1, came from. Um, and what was his name? Bob Meyer created it, I believe. So, that was essentially, he took an RCA manual and he took a design and he put it into a pedal, and that became a booster. Well, you start messing around with that boost and you could get fuzz, you could get overdrive, distortion, whatever. So a lot of these things are based off of that one pedal. I mean, the whole entire Big Muff series is essentially just cascading LPB1s. This is a similar take to that. This is actually called, well, initially it started off as, I saw a schematic online for an Earthquaker Devices bellows, which I'm like, it's a very simple, very cool design. I'm like, I know that pedal. I've seen that before. I've seen that schematic before. It's a what they call a Baz fuzz, which was supposed to be a bass fuzz pedal, but I think it became more of a guitar pedal, and it's a very basic circuit. And I've built one or two, and they sound pretty good. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to build one of those. I already have one, and it doesn't do anything for me. So, I don't want to keep doing the same thing I've already done. So I'm like, okay, what else can I build? Well, I started playing around with it, and one thing with the circuit, the original circuit, it had one transistor in there. I forget which model. We'll say a 2N2222 or something like that. But it's probably not it. It was probably something else. The Earthquaker Devices used an MPSA13, which is a Darlington transistor, essentially two transistors in one sleeve or one case, however you want to call it. I'm like, okay, and that sounded pretty good. And the Earthquaker Devices pedal, it's got a lot more oomph than the Bass Fuzz. But it's simply just a modification of removing one transistor and putting in a different one. And there's other values that have to be changed, things like that, especially when you're biasing. So what I did was, I'm like, well, what else could we do with the circuit? Where could we go from here? So I wasn't finding very much, but I found another circuit, which is the buzz box. So the buzz box is essentially two bass fuzzes in one. And I'm like, well, what happens if I take two Earthquaker Devices bellows and put them into one? And that's what this is, essentially. This is two Earthquaker Device bellows. In the sense that we have, and I'm going to show you here, I'm going to try to point. Let me see, can I use this as a pointer? I have a brass bar. We'll use a brass bar. So this is our transistors, 1 and 2. This is an MPSA 13, and here's another one. So they're identical. Well, the bellows would only have one of those. And what I did was I put in two. I took another circuit which was, I think, something called a fifth gear overdrive, which is also, a play on these. So again, we go back to a design that's been modified over and over again. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to knock anyone for doing that. I do that. So it's one of those things, when you have something that sounds good, build on it. Why not? It doesn't hurt anything. But anyway, so what this is, it's nothing earth-shattering. It's nothing new. It's kind of cool sounding. I like it. And if I could maybe fine-tune it a little bit, actually what I'm going to do is I'm probably going to put it into a chassis or into an enclosure. I'm going to solder it all up, and if it sounds good and it doesn't oscillate and squeal like a pig, then I'm going to, build a few, I guess, and put them up for sale. So I actually have a name for it already. If it works, we're going to call it the Drunken Wombat. The name means nothing other than one of my guilty pleasures is I love found footage horror films and mockumentary horror films. That's my number one genre of films. And I saw one the other day, which is an Australian found footage, or it wasn't even found footage. It was hard. I will say it's found footage. I believe it was found footage, but it was a different take on it. And there was a couple of guys out in the outback, and they were cruising around, going from one bar to another bar. And they walk into this one bar, and they're just hanging out. Everyone's drinking, having a good time, and it was some event, some kind of celebration was going on. And there's a wombat walking on the bar, as if, hey. And I'm like, for some reason, that popped into my head as a drunk wombat. Now, I can't say that the animal was drunk, but, a wombat on a bar. I sat there one night talking to my wife about this movie. I said it was a really bad movie, but there was a wombat walking in a bar. And I'm like, like a drunk wombat. She's like, that'd be a good name for a band. I'm like, what's that? The Drunken Wombats. I'm like, okay. Well, I'm not going to start a band anytime in the near future. I don't have time for that. But I'll make a pedal, and I'm going to call it the Drunken Wombat. So this, everybody, is the Drunken Wombat. All right. Enough talking. I've been doing that for a while now. So here's a clean signal. Alright, so what you're hearing is this is coming through the amplifier, which is my Gibson GA 30 RVT, and the sound is being picked up from the microphone on the phone, or the microphone on the phone. So, nothing fancy here. The controls are going to be volume and drive. The drive doesn't do very much. A lot of this is when you take the bellows circuit and you try to incorporate that into another circuit, it doesn't always work, and that's where I need to do some fine tuning. So anyway, again, we go back to that is our clean signal, and now we have the volume all the way down, and now the drive is all the way down. The volume's right there. Bring that up to noon. And we'll bring up the gain. I'll try to play at the same time. Max out the gain. So turning up the gain you just get a lot more compression. We turn down the gain. You still got a ton of gain, but rolling back the volume on the guitar, we'll turn this volume up. It cleans up nicely. Turn this down a little bit more. We'll roll off on the tone as well. So it's a noisy pedal, which is to be expected from its design. And I think if for a fuzz pedal, because it's an overdrive, but it's an overdrive with a fuzziness to it, I guess you would say. So if we, that's turning the tone up. This is bringing the volume back up on the guitar. Clean again. So it gets loud. Like I said, I'm going to build this. I'm going to put this into an enclosure. My wife actually hand painted a box. You know what? We're going to pause for a second, and I'm going to show you the enclosure. All right. Some of you might find this a little gaudy, but why not? So my wife hand painted this for me. Let me move the pedal out of the way real quick here. You get a better idea. So she hand painted this for me because she wanted to play around with the new paintbrush or something, and tried new designs. And it's reminiscent of Starry Nights, kind of, sort of. I know it's not, but it's cool. And she painted this a while for me. I didn't have any use for it. You know, we did a special run of fuzz blasters that were hand painted by my wife and my kids. And this was going to be another one, but I never really found a circuit to put into it that I liked. I didn't want to put the Blue Light Special in there because the Blue Light Special is designed to be an affordable pedal. And I didn't want to use my Troublemaker because the Troublemaker, I think it looked good as a pink enclosure. Just, I don't know. It looked fine the way it was. So this has been sitting around in my office waiting for something to happen. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to put on black knobs. I don't want to put on blue knobs. I could, but they were boring. Well, in my parts drawer, I found these, which are off of a Telecaster, maybe? I don't remember. I have 4 of them, and I don't have 2 Telecasters. So I don't know what these are from. They could be from something I put together a long time ago and took it apart, but they're definitely guitar knobs. And because this is my pedal, I'm fine with it having any numbers, any dial indicator. Usually with these pedals, I crank the drive anyway, and I keep the volume fairly high. So these might just be turned up all the way anyway. We'll see. But yeah, I'm going to put this together. I'm going to throw it into this enclosure. I got a circuit board laying around I'm just going to throw in. and we're going to go from there and see how it goes. And like I said, if it doesn't feedback in a bad way, and if it doesn't oscillate, this is going to be a new pedal from the Jersey Devil Pedal Company. This is going to be the Drunken Wombat, and I think you guys might like it. It's I can't say it's different. It's not really different, but it's fun, and it's going to be in the same vein as the Blue Light Special. It's going to be more on the affordable side. I want to do something different with the enclosure, though. I'm going to paint it, spray paint it, just rattle can. But I want to do a rust color, reminiscent of this movie, this found footage movie from Australia, where everything was just rusty and beat up, and that orangey rust color. I've always liked that color anyway. So do something like that. Keep it nice and simple. And if I could find a stamp of a wombat that's wasted, or just a goofy looking wombat, I'm actually going to try to use a rubber stamp on this one. I'm actually going to label it. So the idea would be a regular pedal that you would find in a store, essentially, instead of like the pedals that I make now that don't really have labels on it. So I'm trying to up my game, I guess you might say, or I'm trying to make expand my abilities with this. So anyway, thanks for watching. If you got any questions, let me know, and I will post this on Instagram. If the pedal goes into production, I will definitely send out a message on Instagram letting everyone know, and a link to my Reverb shop where it will be. So again, thanks for watching.